I've often said, I think this, we get to hyper Bitcoinization in the 2035 area, but it could come much sooner. It really could. I just don't want to predict that and be wrong. I mean, all along I've been thinking to myself, well, I mean, look, when 2008 happened, I thought the dollar was going to die, right? And obviously I was very wrong. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. I'm pretty sure this whole thing plays out by the mid 2030s, probably a lot sooner. Because it is kind of the, suddenly then all at once. And did we talk about Silicon Valley Bank earlier? I mean, I like to use the Silicon Valley, they sold some bonds. They took a markdown. Some accountants did the math and said, holy shit, this thing's worthless. There's $20 million negative equity here, $20 billion in negative equity. 6 days later, the bank was gone. And one of those 6 days, $45 billion worth of money went out the door. I mean, it was a digital bank run. This was not George Bailey in the savings and loan. One day, 45%. So what does that mean? It means that everyone who was a depositor there very quickly concluded, oh shit, this thing's no good. I got to get my money out of here, or I'm going to, obviously anything you had on deposit there over and above $250,000 was at risk. Of course, it turns out it wasn't because they bailed it out. But so that kind of contagion, that kind of awareness, that quickness, that could apply to a reserve currency. We're a long ways away from that, I think. But, what happens? I mean, here's a scenario. What happens when the U.S. 10-year trades at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Okay, because people aren't trusting it and they're dumping it. Okay, and the dollar is going down, and people, the Fed says, well, this is a real problem because we're going to have to pay more interest on all our bonds, and the deficits are going to blow out. And so the Fed says, okay, we're coming back in with QE and yield curve control, and the amount's going to be unlimited. And then the first couple of months, it's a big number. It's trillions and trillions, and the Fed balance sheet, which is now in the sevens. I think it went as high as 9. It's come back down. The Fed balance sheet goes to 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18. And suddenly that awareness will be spreading of what's happening here. It's like, oh my God, they have lost control of this monetary system. They cannot. There is a quote unquote, soft run on the dollar. People don't want to hold dollar denominated bonds. People don't want to hold dollars. People are buying things that are an alternative to that. By the way, when all this is going on, Bitcoin's gone from 200 to 600 quickly, and gold's at 3,000 or 4,000. So you've got those signals. So, those of us who are in the know and people who are aware of monetary economics and how it all works are like, holy shit, this currency's failing. I've seen this movie before. I've seen it in Zimbabwe. I've seen it in Venezuela. I've seen it in Weimar, Germany. And then what happens is you get into the panicking first is the right thing to do. He who panics first panics best. And by panic, I mean you sell the dollar and you buy something that can't be printed, right? And of course, that just makes it worse. And, I'm very much like Silicon Valley. Everybody in the brother says, get me the hell out of this thing right now. And so Bitcoin goes to $1 million, and of course, a lot of people are afraid to buy it. Like, how the hell can I pay $1 million for it? Well, guess what? It's going to go to infinity in dollar terms because the dollar is going to go to zero. I'm not predicting this. I'm not saying that's what will happen. I have no idea the time frame, and I'm not trying to be a doomster. I'm just describing the pattern that has happened when other currencies fail. Now, we've never had, well, other than Rome, which, they debased the denarius over a couple hundred years to zero. But, in general, reserve currencies don't fail, right? I mean, this is the U.S. dollar. We're talking about the world's reserve currency. I say that in general. But there's a first for everything. And, it's to my way of seeing it, it's not out of the realm of possibility. And if it does happen, you're going to be really glad that if you had savings. By the way, stocks will go up a lot, too. Because on the other side, the stocks will be pricing whatever the new currency is. The loser, the sucker at the table, as Luke Grumman likes to say, is the bond market, right? I mean, the bond market is just going to get wiped out. It's just totally wiped out. I mean, this is why what Saylor is doing. Saylor is doing the Hugo Stinnes trade, right? Which is to say, he's borrowing, he's borrowing and he's using, in dollars. So he owes people back dollars, and he's using those dollars to buy Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin will go up in price and the dollars will go down in value. He'll pay them back in worthless dollars at some point in the future.
If you like that clip, then you definitely got to check out this next spicy clip. I think you're really going to like it. Come on, check it out. But if you want the full version, the full interview, check that out over here. Come on, do it. We'll see you in there.